Part 1. Mystery in the Beginning. The sky above the broken world was always dark. Thick clouds rolled across the heavens, hiding the sun and the stars. The air smelled of ash, and the wind carried dust that burned the skin. Once, long ago, the earth had been full of green fields, blue oceans, and shining cities. But now only one city remained. People called it the last city on earth. The last city was tall and strong. Its walls were higher than mountains of stone, built to keep out everything that lived beyond. From far away, the city looked like a jewel glowing in the middle of ruins. Bright towers stretched into the clouds, their lights never fading. To the people inside, the city was safety. To the people outside, if any were still alive, it was a prison they could never enter. No one knew what had truly happened to the world. Some said there had been a great war. Others whispered about a sickness that spread like fire. The rulers of the city, called the council, told a different story. They said the outside was dead. They said nothing lived beyond the walls. The people believed them because they had no choice. Life inside the city was strict but certain. Food was given in rations. Water was measured drop by drop. Robots and guards walked the streets, always watching. If anyone asked too many questions, they disappeared. Parents warned their children never to speak of the world beyond. Still, the walls were always there, high and heavy, reminding everyone that something waited on the other side. On one cold night, when the winds howled louder than usual, the city shook. At first, people thought it was a storm. Windows rattled, lights flickered, and the ground trembled like an animal waking from sleep. Families gathered together, whispering prayers to keep the darkness away, but then they heard it, something that froze their hearts. It was a sound no one expected, a heavy booming knock. It came once, then again, echoing across the metal gates of the city. It was slow, like a giant hand striking the door. The walls had stood for centuries, and never once had they been touched from the outside. Until now. Guards rushed to the gates, their weapons ready, their eyes wide with fear. Sirens screamed through the streets, and red lights painted the towers like blood. The council sent out messages telling people to stay inside, to remain calm. But the city was not calm. Children cried. Mothers held them tight. Old men shook their heads and whispered, "This should not be possible." From the top of the towers, the guards shined powerful lights over the gates. Dust swirled in the air. The desert beyond stretched for miles, empty and lifeless. But in the middle of the emptiness, shadows moved. Shapes, tall and strange, walked just out of sight. Their footsteps cracked the earth. Their voices were whispers carried on the wind. The knock came again, louder this time. The gate shuddered as if something tested their strength. Inside the city, people listened with beating hearts. No one dared to speak too loud. The silence between knocks was worse than the sound itself. Every second that passed felt like waiting for a blade to fall. Among the crowd was a young boy no more than 15. His name was not important yet, for he was only one of many. But unlike the others, he did not hide his eyes. He looked at the gates, unblinking, as if he wanted to see what waited outside. In his chest, he felt a strange pull, a question burning hotter than fear. If the world was dead, then who or what was knocking? The council tried to calm the people. They said the sound was nothing but the storm. They said there was no danger. But the people had heard the knocks with their own ears. They had felt the ground shake beneath their feet. For the first time in years, doubt spread across the city like fire. That night, the knocks stopped. The gates grew quiet, and the desert beyond returned to silence. But the people could not forget. The whispers of fear grew louder in the streets. Some said monsters lived outside. Others believed survivors had come, knocking for help. No one knew the truth, and the council gave no answers. The boy lying awake in his small room could not sleep. The sound of the knocking still rang in his mind. He thought about the walls, about the desert, about the shadows moving in the distance. For the first time, he wondered if the council had lied. Outside the city, the dark clouds rolled again, covering the sky. The ruins of the old world lay silent, but somewhere in the distance something waited. Something strong enough to shake the gates, something alive, and it was only the beginning. Part 2. Life in the City. Morning in the last city always began the same way. A loud bell rang through the streets, echoing off the tall walls. The people woke not by choice, but because the city told them to wake. Lights flickered on inside small metal homes, and thin doors slid open. Families stepped outside and lined up quietly, waiting for the daily rations. The streets were clean but lifeless. Long pipes ran along the walls, hissing with steam. Above them, screens played the council's messages. The city is safe. The city protects you. The outside is dead. The same words every day, repeated until they felt like law. Guards in black uniforms marched past the lines, their boots striking the ground in perfect rhythm. Small flying drones hovered above, red eyes scanning every face. No one spoke unless spoken to. No one dared to laugh. Even children had learned to keep their voices soft. The boy from the night before stood with his mother in line. He held a small tin cup, waiting for water. A robot with silver arms poured it, one careful drop at a time. The boy sipped, but it never felt like enough. He looked up at the screens, then at the walls rising high above him.
He thought of the knocking from the night before.
The sound was still fresh in his mind, louder than the council's calm words. After rations, the people went to work. Some worked in the factories, their faces hidden under masks, their hands black with grease. Others cleaned the streets or repaired the machines. The lucky ones worked in towers, keeping records for the council. But no matter the job, the rule was the same: obey and you will survive. Question and you will vanish. Sometimes a person simply disappeared. A neighbor, a worker, even a teacher, gone overnight. The council never explained. The people never asked. To ask was dangerous. At school, the children learned about the old world. They saw pictures of oceans and mountains, though none had ever seen them in real life. Teachers told them how dangerous it had been, how wars had destroyed everything, how only the council had saved humanity. But the boy noticed something strange. Every story ended with the same lesson: be thankful. Do not dream of outside. The city is your home forever. The boy could not stop dreaming. In the evenings, the people returned to their homes. Small rooms stacked one on top of another, walls so thin that neighbors could hear each other breathe. The boy sat by his small window, staring at the sky. The clouds glowed faintly from the city lights. He had never seen stars. His grandfather once whispered that stars were real, but the boy's teachers said they were lies from the past. His mother told him not to think too much. "Keep your head down," she whispered. "Stay safe. That is all we can do." But he could not forget the knocking at the gates. One night, when the streets were quiet, he followed a narrow alley behind the factories. The air smelled of smoke and oil. At the end of the alley, hidden under broken pipes, he saw something unusual. A piece of old metal scratched with strange symbols. It looked like a map. He picked it up and brushed off the dust. The lines showed the city's walls, but there were marks outside too. Circles, arrows, and shapes he did not understand. His heart raced. Could it mean there were places beyond the city? Could it mean life still existed outside? Before he could study it longer, he heard footsteps. A guard's shadow stretched across the alley. The boy quickly hid the map under his shirt and lowered his eyes. The guard passed by, not noticing. But the boy's hands shook with fear. He returned home and placed the map under his bed. That night, as he lay awake, the city seemed smaller, like a cage. For the first time, the walls did not feel like protection. They felt like prison bars. Meanwhile, the council sat in their tall tower watching. Their screens showed every street, every family, every child. They saw the fear in the people's eyes, but they also saw the questions beginning to grow. The knocking at the gates had planted a seed of doubt, and doubt was dangerous. The council leader, an old man with silver hair, spoke to the others. "The people must not learn the truth. If they believe the outside is alive, we lose control." Another member asked, "What if the knocking returns?" The old man's eyes were cold. "Then we make sure no one hears it." Down below, the boy could not sleep. His mind replayed the sound of the gates shaking. He thought of the map hidden under his bed. He thought of the teachers who lied, the screens that repeated the same words, the council that always watched. He whispered to himself in the dark, "If the world is dead, then who knocked?" The walls stood tall, silent, and unbroken, but beyond them, in the ashes of the old world, shadows still moved. And the boy, though he did not yet know it, was already walking toward a choice that would change everything. Part 3. The Forbidden Discovery. The boy could not stop thinking about the strange map he had found. Every night, when the city was quiet and the drones flew higher, he pulled it out from under his bed. He traced the lines with his finger, following the paths beyond the walls. The symbols made no sense, but the circles and arrows seemed to point toward something outside, something hidden. During the day, he tried to act normal. He went to school, stood in ration lines, and listened to the teachers repeat the council's lessons. But inside, he carried a secret. The more he looked at the map, the more he felt the walls were not protecting the city, but trapping it. One evening, after work hours ended, he sneaked into the old quarter of the city. Few people lived there anymore. The buildings were cracked, the lights flickered weakly, and strange vines pushed through broken stones. The council rarely sent guards there, which made it the perfect place to think. He spread the map across a dusty table inside an abandoned house. Candlelight danced over the scratched metal. The circles on the map looked like gates, tunnels, or maybe meeting points. And then he noticed something new. One of the marks matched a symbol he had seen before, carved faintly into a wall near the factories. It was no accident. Someone had left this map for others to find. A sudden creak echoed through the house. He quickly folded the map and held his breath. A shadow moved at the doorway. It was an old man, his back bent, his eyes sharp. "That thing will get you killed," the man whispered. The boy froze. You know what this is?" The old man stepped closer, looking at the folded map in the boy's hand. His voice dropped lower. "It is a piece of the truth, and the council would burn you alive if they knew you had it." The boy hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. "But what is outside the walls? Is it really dead?" The old man's eyes flickered with something that looked like pain. "I saw the world before the walls. It was broken, yes, but not empty. People lived. Creatures survived. The council shut the gates not to protect us, but to control us." The boy's heart raced. "Then why doesn't anyone speak of it?" "Because silence is safer than truth," the old man said. "I kept quiet all my life. But you," he pointed at the boy with a trembling hand, "you are not like the others. You will not stop asking. The map found you for a reason." Before the boy could ask more, heavy footsteps thundered outside. "Guards." The old man stiffened. "Hide it now." The boy shoved the map inside his shirt just as two guards entered. Their red eyes scanned the room. "Curfew is near," one said coldly. "No one should be here." The old man bowed his head. "I was only walking home." The guards looked at the boy. His chest pounded, but he forced his face to stay calm. After a tense moment, the guards turned and left. The sound of their boots faded down the street. The old man exhaled slowly. "Go home, child. And remember, the more you learn, the more danger will follow you." That night, the boy could not sleep. The old man's words twisted in his mind. The council shut the gates not to protect us, but to control us. If that was true, then the whole city lived inside a lie. The next day, he tested the map again. He followed one of the lines it showed, moving through alleys and empty tunnels. Hours passed until he reached a hidden door beneath the factories. Rust covered its frame and thick chains locked it shut. On the center of the door, the same symbol from the map was carved deep into the metal. He touched the symbol with shaking fingers. It felt old, older than the city itself. His heart pounded with excitement. The tunnels were real. The map was real, but as he turned to leave, he saw something that chilled him. A small drone hovered above, its red eye glowing. It had been watching him. The drone flew away before he could react. His stomach dropped. The council would know. That evening, loudspeakers crackled across the city. "Remember your loyalty. Obey the rules. Curiosity is dangerous." The words sounded sharper than before, almost like a warning meant for him alone. He returned home, sweat dripping down his neck.
His mother noticed his pale face but said nothing.
Perhaps she was afraid to ask. Perhaps she already knew. When night came, the boy sat by his window again, the map clutched in his hands. The city below was silent, but he could not shake the feeling of being watched. Every shadow felt alive. Every drone's hum felt louder. Still, the map called to him. Beyond the wall, something waited. Answers. Freedom. Maybe danger. He whispered to himself, "If the council fears the truth, then I must find it." And far above the city in the council's tall tower, the old man with silver hair watched the boy on a glowing screen. His voice was calm but cold. "He has the map," he said. "It begins again." Part 4. The first step outside. The hidden door beneath the factories haunted the boy's thoughts. He could not forget the carved symbol, the rusted chains, or the cold metal that seemed to breathe with secrets. For days he returned again and again. moving carefully so the drones would not follow. Each time he stared at the door, his heart whispered the same thing: open it. But the chains were thick, locked tight by hands that had wanted the door never to be touched again. He searched the ground, the walls, the pipes, until one night he found what he was looking for: an old tool half buried in dust. It was heavy, its edge chipped but strong enough to break metal. That night the streets were quiet. The people slept behind their thin walls, unaware that one of their own was about to challenge everything they believed. The boy slipped out of his home, the tool hidden under his coat. He moved through alleys where shadows swallowed sound and the cold air burned his lungs. When he reached the door, his hands shook. He pressed his ear against the chains. No sound came from the other side, only silence. But silence itself felt alive, like something holding its breath. He lifted the tool and struck the chains. The clang echoed through the tunnel. He froze, waiting, afraid guards would come running. But the city above stayed still. He struck again, and again. Metal cracked. Rust gave way. With one final blow, the chains broke apart, falling in a heavy heap to the ground. The door creaked as he pushed it open. Dust fell from the frame. For the first time in centuries, the forgotten path stirred. A narrow tunnel stretched before him, swallowed by darkness. The air smelled old, damp, almost sweet with rot. He lit a small lantern he had stolen from the school and stepped inside. The tunnel walls were lined with broken pipes, their edges sharp like teeth. Old signs with faded words clung to the stone, written in languages the boy had never learned. His footsteps echoed louder than he wished, each step pulling him deeper into the unknown. Then he saw them. Bones. Human bones scattered across the ground, cracked and yellow. Some were still wrapped in torn cloth. Others reached toward the door as if begging to be let back in. His stomach twisted, but he did not stop. Farther in, the tunnel grew stranger. Machines lay broken, wires hanging like vines. Some still sparked faintly, as if refusing to die even after all these years. The boy wondered who had built them and why the council had buried this place. The air grew colder. The silence heavier. Then from the darkness ahead came a faint glow. He followed it, his lantern shaking in his hand. The tunnel opened into a chamber where a massive gate stood, taller than any wall he had seen. Unlike the city gates, this one was hidden underground, forgotten by time. The glow came from cracks in the metal. Beyond the gate, something shone, soft green, alive. The boy's breath caught. Could it be trees? Could it be life? With trembling hands, he searched for a way to open it. He found old levers, rusted wheels, and broken panels. Most were useless, but one lever still moved. He pulled it with all his strength. The gate groaned, dust falling like rain. Slowly, painfully, it lifted. A rush of fresh air poured in, sweet and sharp, carrying scents he had never known. Wet earth, wild grass, something alive. The boy stepped forward, and his lantern flickered. He looked up. For the first time in his life, he saw stars. The sky outside was not empty. It was vast, endless, glittering with lights. The clouds that had always covered the city were gone here. The air was cool and clear. The world was not dead. He stumbled out, his feet sinking into soft soil. Strange plants glowed faintly in the night, their leaves wide and shining. In the distance, dark shapes moved between trees, their eyes reflecting starlight. His chest filled with something new, hope and fear mixed together. The council had lied. The outside was alive, but his wonder did not last long. A low growl came from the shadows. The boy froze, his lantern light trembling over the grass. 2 glowing eyes appeared, then 4, then 6. Creatures stepped into the light, their bodies twisted, half beast, half metal. Their jaws opened with a hiss of steam. The boy stumbled back toward the gate, but the creatures did not attack. They circled him, sniffing the air as if testing what he was. Then one of them lowered its head and let out a sound like a call, a warning or a greeting he could not tell. He stood frozen, the night air thick with danger. Behind him was the city, safe but filled with lies. Before him was the wild, alive but filled with threats. He took a slow breath. His foot pressed forward, 1 step. The first step outside, far above, hidden eyes watched. A drone hovered silently, recording every moment, sending it back to the council's tower. Inside the tower, the old man with silver hair narrowed his eyes. "He has crossed the line," he whispered. "The outside will change him, and if he returns, the city will never be the same." The boy did not hear those words. He only heard the sound of the night, The whisper of trees, the growl of creatures. The song of a world that was supposed to be dead but was very much alive. And he kept walking. Part 5. The Hidden Truth. The boy stood frozen in the grass, his lantern shaking in his hand. The strange creatures circled him, their glowing eyes bright against the dark. They looked like wolves, but their bodies were scarred with metal plates as if machines had grown into their flesh. Steam hissed from their jaws each time they breathed. He thought they would tear him apart, but they didn't. Instead, the largest one lowered its head and sniffed the ground. The others followed, moving in slow circles around him as if deciding what he was. Then, without warning, they melted back into the shadows and disappeared. The boy's chest heaved. His legs trembled. He should have run back to the city, but something inside him kept him still. The air outside tasted different, alive, full of scents the city never had. He couldn't leave now, not after stepping into this world. He walked carefully, following the glowing plants that lit the ground. Strange trees rose in the distance, their leaves wide as sails. Insects buzzed with lights on their wings like stars drifting close to the earth. The boy had never seen such beauty, and yet every step filled him with fear. Then from the trees he heard a sound. Not a growl, not the wind. A voice. Stop. He froze, turning toward the sound. Figures stepped out from the darkness, human figures. Their clothes were patched and torn, their faces marked with dirt, but their eyes burned with life. Each carried a weapon, sharp and handmade. The boy's voice cracked. You're alive? One of them, a woman with short hair and a scar across her cheek, stepped closer. Alive, yes. Hidden too. You shouldn't be here, city boy. The others murmured, their weapons raised. The boy lifted his hands. I mean no harm, I thought the outside was dead. The woman laughed coldly. That's what they told you, isn't it? That nothing survived. That you were safe inside your prison. The boy swallowed hard. It's true then. The council lied? The woman's eyes hardened. They always lied. The city walls are not there to protect you. They are there to keep you inside. The boy felt his chest tighten. He thought of his mother, his teachers, the endless voices on the screens. The city protects you. The city is safe, lies, all lies. Another man stepped forward, older, his beard tangled. You should not have opened the tunnels. The council will know. They watch everything. The boy pulled the folded map from his shirt. I found this. It led me here. The survivors exchanged glances. Whispers moved between them. Finally, the woman took the map, her eyes scanning the marks. Her face darkened. So it begins again, the boy frowned. What do you mean? The woman handed the map back. You are not the first to escape the city. Many before you tried. Most never returned. Those who did were hunted down. The council fears the truth, and this map is the key to it. The boy's hands shook. What truth? The old man leaned closer, his voice low and rough. That the last city is not the last. Others survived. Other cities, other people. But the council cut them off, destroyed the roads, and sealed the gates. They wanted control, not survival. They feared a world where the people could choose. The boy's breath caught. Then the world is alive? Alive but broken, the woman said. The land is dangerous, full of creatures and storms. But it is ours. We are free. The council cannot touch us here. The boy looked back toward the city walls glowing faintly in the distance. His whole life he had believed they were safety. Now they looked like a cage of steel. Why not tell the people? He asked. Why not break the gates and show them the truth? The survivors fell silent. Finally, the woman spoke. Because the council has power. They have weapons that can burn the sky. They see everything through their machines. If we attack openly, they will crush us all. For now, we survive in the shadows, the boy's voice rose. Then I'll tell them. I'll show them what I've seen. The old man shook his head. If you return, they will not listen. They will call you a liar, or worse, they will erase you. The boy clenched his fists. But the people must know. My mother, my friends, they all believe the council's words. If no one speaks, nothing changes. The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she sighed. You are young, brave, maybe foolish, but you have fire in your eyes. Perhaps that is what we need. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small object, a piece of broken glass shaped into a mirror. She handed it to him. Take this. It once belonged to a soldier of the council. If they see it, they will know you've been outside. It will make them afraid. Fear can open cracks. and through cracks truth can slip in. The boy held the mirror tightly. His reflection stared back at him, pale and trembling. Far away, high in the council tower, the old man with silver hair watched the boy on a glowing screen. His voice was steady but sharp. "He has met them," he said. "He knows the truth." Another council member asked, "Should we silence him?" The old man shook his head slowly. "No, let him return. His words will spread doubt, and doubt is more dangerous than rebellion." Outside, under the stars, the boy turned back toward the city walls. His steps were heavy, but his heart burned with new purpose. He would return. He would tell the people, and nothing would be the same again. Part 6. Return and Danger. The boy crossed back through the tunnel as dawn broke. His lantern was dead, but the memory of stars still burned in his eyes. In one hand, he carried the mirror the woman had given him. In the other, he held the map. Both felt heavy, like keys to doors he was not ready to open. When he pushed the hidden door shut behind him, the smell of smoke and oil returned. The city air felt stale now, weaker than before. His chest longed for the outside again, but he knew he had to return. His people needed to know the truth. He slipped back into the streets before the bells rang. The city was waking, lights humming on, voices whispering in the lines for water. Everything looked the same, yet nothing felt the same. He looked at the walls not as protection, but as prison bars. At home, his mother greeted him with tired eyes. She noticed the dirt on his clothes, the wild look in his face. "Where have you been?" she whispered sharply. He hesitated, then whispered back, "Outside." Her hand froze. The color drained from her face. She gripped his shoulders. "Don't ever say that word, not here. Not ever." "But it's real," the boy said, voice trembling. "There's life beyond the walls, people, trees, stars." His mother's eyes filled with fear. She pressed her finger to his lips. "They will hear you. Do you want to vanish like the others?" The boy pulled away. "If no one speaks, we will all stay prisoners. I have proof." He showed her the mirror. Its broken glass gleamed faintly in the dim light. Her breath caught. She pushed it away. "Hide it now. If the guards see that, they will kill us both." Before he could argue, the sirens blared. A voice cracked from the loudspeakers. "Attention, citizens. The council reminds you, loyalty is survival. Distrust is death." The sound rolled across the streets like thunder. The boy's stomach turned. They already knew. Later that day, soldiers marched into the district. Their boots struck hard, their black masks reflecting the pale light. People watched in silence, heads bowed. No one dared to move. The soldiers did not speak, only scanned faces with their red eyes. The boy stayed hidden in the crowd, the map pressed against his chest. His hands shook. He could feel the mirror like fire in his pocket. If they searched him, he would be finished. Then a soldier paused, his red visor landing on the boy. The boy froze. The soldier tilted his head as if recognizing something. For a moment, the boy thought it was over. But then the soldier turned away and moved on. Relief hit like a wave, but it did not last. That night, the boy heard heavy boots outside his home. He peered through a crack and saw them, guards standing in the street, silent as statues, watching his door. His mother's voice shook. "They know. You must run." The boy's chest ached. "If I leave, they will take you." She cupped his face with trembling hands. "They will take me anyway. You must live. You must tell them. Promise me." Tears stung his eyes, but he nodded. He slipped out the back into alleys lit by the red glow of drones. The city no longer felt familiar. Every corner was danger. Every shadow was a trap. He ran toward the old quarter, clutching the map. Behind him, shouts rose. The soldiers had noticed. Their boots pounded closer. He darted into broken buildings, climbed rusted ladders, leapt across narrow roofs. Below, the people saw him chased, and whispers rose. Some gasped in fear, others murmured in awe. For the first time, eyes turned not to the screens but to him. The soldiers fired. Bolts of burning light struck the walls, shattering stone. The boy's chest burned as he ran. His lungs screamed, but he pushed on. At the edge of the old quarter, he stopped. The crowd had gathered, drawn by the noise. Dozens of faces stared at him. Tired faces, hungry faces, faces full of doubt. The soldiers raised their weapons. The boy lifted the mirror high into the air. The broken glass caught the dim city light and flared like fire. "Look," he shouted. His voice cracked but carried. "The outside is alive. The council lied to you. The crowd stirred. Gasps rippled through them. Mothers held children closer. Old men whispered prayers. For the first time, the people heard words not from the screens but from one of their own. The soldiers froze, unsure. The crowd was large, too many to silence at once. Doubt spread like smoke. The boy's arms trembled, but he kept the mirror raised. I have seen stars. I have seen trees. There are people out there, free people. We don't have to live like this, the soldiers shouted, pushing forward. The crowd shifted, some moving back, others stepping between the boy and the guards. A spark of rebellion flickered in their eyes. The boy's heart raced. He knew the fight was only beginning. He could be captured, even killed. But he had spoken. He had broken the silence. High in the council tower, the old man with silver hair watched through the drones. He did not look angry. He smiled faintly. It begins, he whispered. Part 7. The Final Choice. The boy stood at the edge of the square, the broken mirror raised high. The crowd around him buzzed with whispers, their eyes wide with shock. Behind them, soldiers pushed forward, their weapons glowing. The air was thick with fear, but also with something new, something dangerous to the council. Doubt, seize him, one of the soldiers barked. The boy's heart pounded, but he did not lower the mirror. They lied to us, he shouted again. There is life beyond the walls. I have seen it. The crowd rippled. Some gasped, some stepped back, but others leaned closer, hungry for his words. Mothers clutched their children and old men muttered prayers. A spark had been lit. The soldiers advanced, but before they could reach him, the crowd shifted. People moved in, forming a wall between the boy and the guards. No one spoke, but their bodies spoke for them. They were afraid, but they would not step aside. The soldiers hesitated. They could kill the boy easily, but not without killing many others. And killing many would raise more questions, more anger. High above in the council tower, the old man with silver hair watched the scene on his screen. His eyes were calm, his voice quiet.
Do you see?
One boy can stir them. But fear will bring them back to us. Fear always does. Another council member frowned. What if it doesn't this time? The old man's smile was thin. Then the city will burn and we will build it again. But not yet. Not tonight. Down in the square, the soldiers suddenly stepped back. A message rang out from the loudspeakers. Citizens, return to your homes. This boy is confused. Do not listen to him. The city protects you. The outside is death. But the words felt weaker now, like an old song no one believed. The people glanced at the boy, then at each other. Their silence was louder than the council's command. The soldiers withdrew, leaving only the echo of their boots. The crowd slowly faded back into the streets, but their eyes still burned with questions and whispers carried into every corner of the city. The boy lowered the mirror, his arms shaking. He had survived this night, but the danger was not gone. His mother found him in the shadows, tears on her face. You must leave, she whispered. They will come for you again. Next time they will not hesitate. I can't leave now, he said. They know the truth. I must stay, her voice cracked. Staying will kill you. He touched her hand gently. If I die, let it be for something real. That night he moved through the streets alone. The walls loomed higher than ever. The map pressed against his chest, the mirror cold in his pocket. His path had only two directions. Back outside into the wild or forward into the council's jaws. Near the eastern gate, he saw something strange. The guards were gone, the spotlights dim. The massive door stood silent, but his heart felt it. Pressure like a storm waiting to break. He stepped closer and the ground trembled beneath his feet. Then a sound ripped through the night. Boom. The same sound he had heard on that first night. The knock. Boom. The gate shuddered. Dust fell from its frame. The city stirred awake, lights flickering, alarms screaming. The boy froze. The crowd from earlier rushed into the square again, drawn by the thunder. Their eyes filled with terror as the gate shook harder. Boom, the people screamed. Mothers pulled their children close. Guards ran to their stations, shouting orders. But the knocking grew louder, stronger, as if something on the other side was done waiting. The boy's chest pounded. He remembered the survivor's words. You are not the first. Many tried before you. The council fears the truth. Now the truth was at the door. He ran to the front of the crowd, his voice rising above the chaos. Don't be afraid. This is not death, it is life. The outside is real. Some people clung to his words. Others shook their heads, too afraid to believe. The council's voice boomed from the towers. Stay inside. The outside is poison. Do not trust the boy. But the people had heard the boy first, and that made the council's voice weaker than it had ever been. The ground shook again. The gates groaned, bending under the weight of what pressed against them. The boy lifted the mirror high once more, its broken glass catching the city lights. His voice was raw but strong. This is the choice. Live in fear behind these walls or step into the world that waits for us. The people stared, torn between fear and hope. Some stepped back. Others stepped forward. The gates screamed as they began to crack. Light poured through, bright and alive. The boy's heart thundered. He turned to the people, his hand stretched out. Come with me. And in that moment, the city held its breath. Would they follow him into freedom? Or would they cling to the safety of lies? The gates roared open and the light swallowed the square. The boy took a step forward, into a future no one in the last city had ever seen.